Hello and welcome to the Kansas City Star. I'm Charles Gooch. I write the Full 90 Soccer blog. I'm joined by Sam McDowell, who's the beat writer for Sporting Kansas City. And we're going to talk a little bit about Sporting Kansas City. They've made a couple of interesting moves this week. The most notable one is goalkeeper Luis Marin, who was brought in back in December, has had his contract mutually terminated, and he will be leaving the team. Sam, you were out at training today, and you kind of got a little bit of this story, and you were able to kind of break this news early this morning. Tell me, what's going on here? What's the deal with Marin going?
This was something that he asked for. He approached Peter Vermes on Saturday after the match in Seattle and said that he's got a family issue that had been going on for a while, and it was the first time he brought it to the coaching staff's attention, and basically said, I need to be back home in Chile with my family right now. And Peter said, hey, take the night and think about it. And the next day he said that's what he wanted to do. So Peter basically sort of obliged and said okay, and realizes that's going to be an issue when you're dealing with a sport that brings in a lot of international players. So the news now is that leaves them with Tim Melia, who had the #1 job for the past 4 matches, but now it's really his. So, and we didn't know how long that stint would last, and now it seems like it could even last the season. So he's been playing, pretty well lately for him, and I guess how would you assess the way he's been playing?
I think Tim Melia has brought a lot of confidence, and that's kind of what Kansas City really needed in that spot. I mean, we talked about it a couple weeks ago after Luis Marin had a really bad performance on the road in Houston, that the team had gone through a bunch of goalkeepers in the wake of Jimmy Nielsen, and they've all been a little either disorganized or unsure of themselves, and that does not seem to be Tim Melia's problem. He seems to be very confident of himself. He was very active in this game last week against Seattle and picking up the 0-0 draw, a very tough point for Kansas City to get on the road. And he's played very well over the last 4 games. I mean, he's 2-0-2 in these 4 games, and he's brought a lot more organization and structure to that back line, and he's been just more active. They didn't bring in Luis Marin to be a backup goalkeeper. So I think that's also maybe a little bit on Marin's mind there. I'm kind of looking into the crystal ball there about why he may wanting to leave. But now now it's Tim Melia's job, and the team recalled young Jon Kempin from his loan from the San Antonio Scorpions. So they're just going in with now just 2 backup goalkeepers. I mean, do you see that just being the 2 keepers they're going to have, just Melia and Kempin?
Well, that was a question I posed to Vermes today, and he said they're very comfortable with what they have there. Kempin hadn't been exactly setting the world on fire in San Antonio. He had gotten 2 starts down there, allowed 5 goals. Now, he did also make 5 saves, which tells you he was under pretty heavy combat for the couple matches that he played. But I think that's going to be the duo they're going to stick with for now. Now, if Melia doesn't perform well, over the next several matches, does that change? I think it could. And you and I were, in a related issue, looking at the transfer window, which opens in July, and that would be the time to potentially bring in somebody else. But right now, I think that Peter has his sights set on more of an attacking player during that window, and specifically a center back. Obviously, that's still a position they want to address.
There's still a position of need. Jon Kempin is still very young. I mean, he's just 21 years old, I believe. Still, he was sent to San Antonio to get games at a higher level than he had been getting. So this is a little bit maybe of a step backwards for Kempin's development, as he'll be sitting on the bench again. Even in your story, Vermes said, he's not even sure if he's going to play Kempin in the Open Cup matches. I mean, Tim Melia has not got a lot of miles on him in his MLS career. He's been around for 6 years, and I believe he's doubled his starts just in the last 4 games after spending time with Chivas USA, Real Salt Lake, and kind of scattered around the league.
And I think that's something that he's going to have to sort of weigh the options there, is because Melia's playing really well right now, and if you don't play him in the Open Cup, he's going to have 2.5 weeks off. So do you want a guy who's in form not playing for 2.5 weeks, who's only played 4 games already?
Yeah, I think it's something to watch for as we go forward, because Kempin had a spell here last year where he played okay. I mean, he picked up Save of the Week. He saved a stone-cold penalty kick in Vancouver last year, and then he kind of had his struggles. I don't know if everyone's completely convinced that he's #1 ready right now, but that's kind of the cards that Peter Vermes has to play with right now.
Well, I think a lot of Twitterverse is convinced that he's the guy and ready to go. I get a lot of questions about Jon Kempin, sort of the same along the lines with EPB, as far as, hey, when are these guys gonna play? And Kempin's still only 22 years old, which is pretty young for a goalkeeper.
It's very, very young for a goalkeeper. The other interesting facet of this transaction for Kansas City is that it frees up an open roster spot, an international roster spot at that, which can allow Kansas City. I get a lot of questions about this on Twitter for my mailbag as well, about whether Kansas City is going to go out and pick up another center back. So if you're looking at that sort of a market, Kansas City now has a little bit more option to play with. I've seen a lot of rumors linking them to more midfielding, attacking players. The Rafael van der Vaart stuff always kind of silting beneath the surface of all transfer talks. Do you see anything coming on the horizon transaction-wise? I mean, I know that July 8th is the opening date of the window. Do you see anything sort of happening maybe before then, or is it going to wait until then?
I really don't think I see a big addition before that window opens, because the options are so much more limited between now and then. I do think that, Peter's someone who's always, looking to improve his roster, even at positions where you think that they're pretty strong. And this is, when we go back to the center back position, that's one where I think you can look back and say they need some improvement there. Kevin Ellis, although he played very well Saturday against Seattle, I think that was maybe his best performance of the season. They're also going to have another option between now and July, which is I think Chance Myers will return in late June. Now you've got Jalilian Ababa that can potentially play at center back. So they're going to have more options here in the coming weeks. And then once July opens, I think they're really going to scour the international market for a center back. All
right. Well, thank you, Sam, for joining us today and talk a little bit about Tim Melia, Luis Marin, Jon Kempin. Kind of hit a couple of topics there, but mostly goalkeeper specific. Tell people where they can find you at on Twitter.
I'm at twitter.com/Sam McDowell11.
And I am at the Full90. Also, make sure that you go to the App Store, iOS. You can get it on Android, and download the Extra Time app. You can get all of the stories that Sam and I write, all of the videos that we produce. You can get them right on your phone. So go check out that app. It's pretty cool. I actually kind of like it. I've been using it a lot to tweet out stories and links from our newspaper. So thanks for joining us. See you guys.